kids, here's a bedtime story for you. Elmo asked me to read this for all of you. It's called Curious George by H.A. This book is special because it was written and published in 1941, and this is an actual copy from 1941. That's a long, long time ago. And so I'll be reading it for you, okay? Here we go. Oh, and here's George. It's a stuffed George. Goes with the book. Curious George by H.A. Copyright 1941 by H.A. This is George. He lives in Africa. He was very happy, but he had one fault. He was too curious. See, there he is eating a banana. One day, George saw a man. He had on a large yellow straw hat. The man saw George too. What a nice little monkey, he thought. I would like to take him home with me. He put his hat on the ground, and of course, George was curious. He came down from the tree to look at the large yellow hat. So there's the man in yellow hat, and there's George looking at the hat. The hat had been on the man's head. George thought it would be nice to have it put on his own head. He picked it up and put it on. There he is, putting it on. Uh-oh, his whole head's covered. Isn't that right, George? The hat covered George's head. He couldn't see. The man picked him up quickly and popped him into a bag. George was caught. Aw, man, look at that. The man with the big yellow hat put George into a little boat, and a sailor rowed them both across the water to a big ship. George was sad, but he was still a little curious. See, look at this guy. He's just laughing. Looks like Popeye. Y'all know who that is? Maybe not. On the big ship, things began to happen. The man took off the bag. George sat on a little stool, and the man said, George, I'm going to take you to a big zoo in a big city. You will like it there. Now run along and play. But don't get into trouble. George promised to be good. But it is easy for little monkeys to forget. Here he is on the boat, see? On the deck, he found some seagulls. He wondered how they could fly. He was very curious, and finally, he had to try. It looked easy, but there's a seagull, and there's George. Oh, what happened? First this. He's flying through the air, and then this. Splash. Look at the seagulls. They're looking at him. Where is George? The sailors looked and looked. At last they saw him struggling in the water and almost all tired out. Okay. Man overboard! That sounds like Bucky a little bit. The sailors cried as they threw him a life belt. George caught it and held on. At last, he was safe on board. After that, George was more careful to be a good monkey until at last, the long trip was over. George said goodbye to the kind sailors, and he and the man with the yellow hat walked off the ship onto the shore and on into the city to the man's house. See them getting off the boat? Cool. After a good meal and a good pipe, George felt very tired. He ate and drank and smoked a pipe. And this is his PJs. Look, they were too big and we shrunk them down for him. You see that? All right. The next morning, the man telephoned the zoo. George watched him. He was fascinated. Then the man went away. George was curious. He wanted to telephone too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. What fun! See, the man went away and he's like dialing away. Well, back in the old days they dialed. Now we push, you know, buttons. It's an old book. Hurry, hurry, hurry! The fireman jumped to the fire engines and onto the hook and ladders. Ding dong, ding dong. Everyone out of the way. Hurry, hurry, hurry! Woo! Wee, wee, woo! The firemen rushed into the house. They opened the door. No fire! Only a naughty little monkey. Okay, catch him, they cried. George tried to run away. He almost did, but he got caught in the telephone wire, and look at that, he's still tangled in the phone wire. And these guys messing up the house. A thin fireman caught one arm, and a fat fireman caught the other. "You fooled the fire department," they said. "We will have to shut you up where you can't do no more harm." They took him away and shut him in a prison. Oh man, look, he's in a prison. That's horrible. George wanted to get out. He climbed up to the window to try the bars. Just then, the watchman came in. He got on the wooden bed to catch George, but he was too heavy and big, too big and heavy. The bed tipped up, the watchman fell over, and quick as lightning, George ran through the open door. Look at that. He's gone. He hurried through the building and out on the roof. And then he was lucky to be a monkey. Out he walked onto the telephone wires. Quickly and quietly over the guard's head, George walked away. He was free. Yay. Look, he's above the walls over there, right up top. Down in the street, outside the prison wall, stood a balloon man. A little girl brought a balloon for her brother. George watched. He was curious again. He felt he must have a bright red balloon. He reached over and tried to help himself, but instead of one balloon, the whole bunch broke loose. In an instant, the wind whisked them all away, and with them went George, holding tight with both hands. Look at that, he's flying away. Up, up he sailed, higher and higher. The house looked like toy houses, and the people like dolls. George was frightened. He held on very tight. Look at that, it's on top of the city. He doesn't look frightened in this picture. Look, he's grinning, isn't he? Yeah. At first the wind blew in great gusts, then it quieted. Finally it stopped blowing altogether. George was very tired. Down, down he went, bump, onto the top of the traffic light. Everyone was surprised. The traffic got all mixed up. George didn't know what to do. And then he heard someone call, "George!" He looked down and saw his friend, the man with the big yellow hat. Where is he? Oh, there he is. He's on the traffic light. Wow, look at that. George was very happy. The man was happy too. George slid down the post, and the man with the big yellow hat put him under his arms. Then he paid the balloon man for all the balloons, and then George and the man climbed into the car, and at last, away they went. See, paid him money for the balloons, and they went home in his convertible. To the zoo! What a nice place for George to live. And there he is. He has this red balloon holding with his foot, and he's in a tree and with all the other animals. And let's see, the end. So have a sweet dreams tonight, kids, and time to go to bed. See, if you have a blankie, get your blankie, and it's time to go to bed, okay? Good night from me and Curious George.